Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another train pack unboxing. So people have let me know that they really enjoy seeing train packs unboxed and reviewed, and to be honest with you, I really enjoy doing those as well. So today I've got another cracking one for you, and it is this. So as you can tell straight away, this is a Bachmann train pack, and this is the CADA 60th anniversary set. And if you didn't know, CADA are basically the company that own Bachmann, or at least they have for quite a long while anyway. So this 60th anniversary set includes the J72 tank and the standard Class 4 460. Sounds like a bit of a strange combination to start with, however there is a good reason for it. So the J72 was actually the first locomotive ever to be produced by CADA, under the mainline name I believe, and the standard Class 4 was in fact the latest locomotive that Bachmann or CADA had produced at the time of the release of this set in 2008. So yes, quite a nice idea actually. Of course, two very different locomotives. This review is going to be split in two, so today I'm going to be reviewing the J72, and then next review I do will be the standard Class 4. So let's get to this. Let's take a look at the 60th anniversary set from CADA. It says here 1948 to 2008, so yeah, that is 60 years. Let's take a look and let's see what this is like. So yes, here it is, and I bought this set for £100 on eBay, which I think is quite a good deal. It's not quite as good as it seems, for reasons we're going to get onto, but to be fair, I think it is a pretty good deal. Now, as I said, this is a bit of an unusual train pack, and the reason is that you don't actually get any rolling stock with this one. It really is just the two locomotives, which I think is quite nice. I quite like that. It's a little bit different, and yeah, that's quite cool. So let me show you what's on the end of the box then. So as you can see, the product number for this is 30-060, and it says here it's the 60th anniversary of CADA box set J72 and standard Class 460, which of course doesn't make sense because there's no such thing as the standard Class 460. What it is a standard Class 4, and it is a 460, so yeah, I reckon they must have missed the number 4 off there somehow. So not a brilliant start, but obviously it's a very trivial matter. So anyway, let me show you what is on the back of the box then, and this just gives you a little bit of history of CADA, to be honest. So if you want to know a little bit more, feel free to pause that and read what it says there. It is reasonably interesting, to be fair, so yes, take a look at that if you'd like to. So let's get this box open and we'll see what's inside. So let's see what comes out. So we've got the standard Class 4 there. I'm going to put that to one side and we'll look at that next time. We have the J72, which is the loco we're looking at today. There it is. Inside it's sort of half packaging there, which is quite nice. And then inside here there is an envelope, which I have not yet opened. Hopefully it won't have anybody's personal details inside, but I think this is going to have the certificate and things. So let's take a look. Right, so yes, it is the certificate. Let me show you this. So this is number 134. Does it actually say how many there were made? Yes, it says there were 1,000 sets made, and it also says the J72 tank is in LNER black, which is very clearly not correct. I mean, it's clearly green there. So yeah, starting to get the feeling here that Bachmann aren't really interested in proofreading any of this stuff. Slightly useless, isn't it, that? So the certificate is spoilt slightly by the fact that it doesn't match with what's actually in the set, but never mind. Then we've got the Collectors Club thing, which is what it is, and that's a guarantee, so I won't show you that. And here you have the exploded diagrams and things. That one is for the standard Class 4, and that is for the J72. And if you look at that, you'll notice something quite shocking, which I'll talk about later on. But yeah, there it is anyway. That's the exploded diagram. Very handy, of course, if you needed to replace any parts there. You could order them from Bachmann, I assume. So yes, that is good. Let me put all this paperwork together then, and we will take a look at the loco in its beautiful LNER black glory. Yeah, how on earth did they manage to get that wrong? Absolutely shocking. Right, so let's get this out, if I can. It's got this bit of foam in there to obviously keep it in the right place so that you can see it. It's really quite hairy though, if you can see that. There's all these horrible sort of static hairs on it. So yeah, best to keep those away from the logo, I would say. So yes, here it is in the very modern block of ice packaging. All right, let's take this out. Quite easy to get this one out, of course, and it is very heavy, quite noticeably. Right, yeah, extremely heavy. Right, let me show you this then. So there she is. So first thing, a really quite beautiful model. I really do like this one. It's very attractive. The second thing though is less good. I was quite shocked and a little bit disappointed to find this, but as you can sort of tell by looking underneath, this is the old split chassis model. It is literally the exact model that came out sort of 40 years ago. Now, I guess that makes sense because this is supposed to be CADA's first ever model produced. But to be honest with you, if I am being honest, I was expecting at least an updated chassis on this, even if they kept the original body. And of course nobody can complain about that because Bachmann would just say, well yeah, that's the idea, you know, we're trying to recreate the original locomotive that Mainline produced. But yeah, Bachmann have been very clever there, but not necessarily in a good way, perhaps messing around with our expectations there. And of course it's not very practical because the split chassis is a bad design and you get failures and things. You can't DCC fit it, so that's a lot of modelers that won't be able to make use of this. And I just don't really understand why they've done that. What you've really got here is a 40-year-old model, or whatever it is, in modern packaging with a modern price tag. A little bit naughty there, although I suppose, again, they've got a good excuse for it. So let me know what you think in the comments. Is this a little bit naughty, or is it okay? Let me know. I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest, because I would not have paid all that much for one of these old split chassis models, but it is nice looking nonetheless. So anyway, I'm going to show you this up close in just a second, but first of all, here's a little bit of history on the J72. So the J72 started life on the North Eastern Railway, where it was classified as the NER Class E1. 113 of these were built between 1898 and 1951 to the design of Wilson Wordsdale. In 1923 the class was inherited by the LNER, where it was reclassified to the J72, as we can see it here. The class was primarily designed for light shunting duties and was eventually classified as a 2F. During Thompson's reign, just before nationalisation of course, the J72 was effectively condemned for withdrawal. However, when Peppercorn took charge, his idea was to list them as a standard light shunting locomotive, and he in fact ordered yet more members of the class rather than listing them for withdrawal. But like all British steam locomotives, their eventual withdrawal was inevitable, and all but one of the class were scrapped. Number 69023 is the surviving member, which now works on preserved railways. Alright, so yeah, as is probably quite obvious, I think it's fair to say that I'm not too impressed with this, at least so far. I just get the impression that this whole set has just been sort of thrown together without too much thought put into it. And to be honest, it's hard to come to any other conclusion, what with all the sort of very obvious mistakes with this, especially on the certificate. I think that is a shame. And I also think that, to be honest with you, it should have been made clear that the loco you're getting with this set is not up to modern standards, at least where the J72 is concerned. To be honest, I think that would have just been a courtesy to the people that, to be fair, would be spending a lot of money on this set. And yes, this particular locomotive, the J72, is definitely not up to modern standards for reasons I've already discussed and in terms of detail as well. However, having said that, it really isn't too bad, is it? It's a very smart looking loco, even though you can clearly see the cracks in it, and that will be taken quite literally as soon as those split chassis axles start to fail. But yeah, apart from that, it is very, very nicely painted. I suppose probably more so than it would have been when it was originally released by Mainline, and also the level of detail on this isn't too bad at all. So it's not an absolutely terrible model, it's just not up to modern standards by any means. So first of all, I've already mentioned the weight. It is a very, very heavy model, but that weight almost entirely comes from the chassis. In fact, the bodywork, I think, is almost exclusively plastic. The running board is made of plastic, and even the whistles, the safety valves, they're made of plastic. The buffers are also plastic, and they're not sprung, just to demonstrate that. Yep, unfortunately, those are not sprung. But apart from that, generally the quality of the model is okay. I mean, I'm not too keen on the split chassis design. I think that generally is quite poor quality. And also the finish on the rods specifically is not very attractive, is it? It's really not a nice finish on that. They almost look scratched up. But no, this was a brand new set. I bought it on eBay, but it had never been used. And I have had the locos apart to confirm that. And yes, it doesn't look as though they've been used. So I think it's safe to assume that's how it came from the factory. But apart from that, you know, it's not a big deal. The finish is generally very nice. So let's take a look at the paintwork. On the boiler, you can see we do have high quality banding going on there with the black in between the white. And this was done in 2008, so it's not the newest in the world, but it has at least been done to a high standard. The LNER on the side of the tanks has been nicely applied, as well as the running number, and yes, it's worth mentioning that this is clearly LNER green and not LNER black, as the certificate suggests. There's loads of white lining, especially around the cab area, which is very lovely to see. And along the running board, you've got that lovely red lining, as well as the steps, which have been outlined in the red. On the subject of the cab, you can see we do have these lovely round windows at the front, which have been glazed, and they've been outlined in the sort of copper colour or even golden colour, which I think is really, really beautiful. And around the back, you've got more windows, but this time they have that grille effect on them, which is quite nice to see. Now, unfortunately, the cab is a massive letdown for this model because you can see into it quite clearly, and there is no cab detail of any kind inside there. And in fact, the split chassis fills up most of the cab, which means that you can't really do much about that even if you wanted to. Yes, that's a little bit of a shame. Separately fitted wise though, there's quite a lot going on with this model. I've already shown you the whistles and the safety valves. It's not clear whether those are separately fitted or not, but they are quite clearly made of plastic because they don't have that metallic shine to them. A little bit of a shame again. Quite a lot of handrails on this though. Of course, along the side of the boiler there you've got quite a bit, and around the back of the coal bunker you've also got handrails fitted there. The front of the smoke box is relatively okay, I suppose. It does have the separately fitted handrail on it, although the smoke box dart is quite clearly just a part of the moulding, which again is a little bit of a shame, I would say. Also, underneath the boiler slash smoke box area, you can see there is no representation of valve gear under there, which again is quite typical of models from the 1980s, but not typical really of models from modern day. Although, to be fair, this was produced 10 years ago when, to be honest, that really wasn't a thing. So we can let it off on that. I suppose that is up to modern standards, at least for 2008 when this came out. So yeah, apart from that, I think that's all I've got to say on this. The couplings on this are the slim type, but they are not NEM, they are screwed to the chassis, which again is an outdated touch, even for 2008 standards. So, it's not a bad looking model. I think aesthetically it's very, very lovely. The detail isn't what it ought to have been for a 2008 model, and you will see the contrast between this and the standard Class 4. However, it's not absolutely awful. Right, let's get it down onto the track then, and we will see how it performs. Okay, so there she is then down onto the track, and it's about time to talk about performance. First of all though, this is what she's going to be hauling. It is my Ocean of Ocean wagons, although of course she's only a light shunting engine, so it's not the whole lot, it's just, 10, 15, something like that. So I've already sort of said my piece about split chassis mechanisms, so you know my position on that. I'm not a big fan of that. However, because this is sort of brand new, it's only just been produced more recently than most of the split chassis models, it is actually in tip-top condition and it's running quite nicely, to be fair to it, despite the fact that I'm not a big fan of the mechanism. So let's see how this goes. And obviously the big advantage of split chassis is that you don't have any pickups, which means that over express points, let me just show you this, over express point she is absolutely fine because you have got a better connection there. So let's try, oh, you didn't actually see that, did you? She went out of shot. Anyway, take my word for it, she didn't stop. The slow speed is, to be fair, very, very good. So I think that is one of the areas where this model actually does very well in. And it's probably the only area that is actually up to modern standards. I think you can just about tell that she's moving there. Is she moving? You know, even I can't tell, but I think so. Yeah, she is actually moving. So it's astonishingly good slow speed. Let's just speed it up a little bit further. So yeah, it's very, very good. Right, let's see what the pulling power was like then. Let's back her up to the Ocean wagons. You'll notice also that it is very noisy, unfortunately, but there's not an awful lot to be done on that. Right, let's see what her power's like then. Let's get her set to forwards and let's see what she's like. Right, nice and steady to start off with. And keep an eye out on the layout. There are other 060s for you to spot. Some of them tank engines, some of them tender engines, but there is an odd one out. So let me know in the comments which one that is. Let's speed up the J72 nicely, and I'll show you what else is running. Okay, so on the inside line we have a loco which is much better, much more modern. It's what this J72 should have been really. So it's the Hornby J50, full modern mechanism, you know, it's got pickups, it's got proper bearings, full detail. No die cast on this one either, I don't think, but yeah, it's generally much better quality. So there she goes with a little bit of a passenger train for you. Very lovely. And then on the inside line, I always forget the name of this one. Is it a J36 or something like that? You know, I always forget. Anyway, it's another sort of LNER tank. It's the old one. Or is it a J73 or something like that? You know what? Let me know in the comments. In fact, I'll look it up and I will include a poll so you can let me know. Anyway, enjoy the running session, folks. So the weight of this J72 means that she's not going to be doing any wheel slip, but it's so underpowered. Look at the way it slows down going up Gordon's Hill. Look at that. It slows right down, and that's not even the worst of it. So yeah, it's got plenty of weight, but again, that motor inside there is not sufficient. Look at that, look at the slow down. Slows right down to a crawl, and that is not a big load. I dread to think what would happen. In fact, I wouldn't dare put any more on than that, because it would cause a burnout, surely. But to be honest, otherwise, we've got to forgive her, haven't we? Because she does look absolutely gorgeous running along there. And she's not a bad little runner, to be honest. So, yeah, no huge complaints, really, where performance is concerned. We are quite like that sort of British Railways / LNER livery on there, quite nice. Must have been around the time of nationalisation when that model was based on. Ooh, it does slow down quite a lot though towards the top of Gordon's Hill. It's not great, that. In fact, I better not do that for too long actually, because I don't like seeing her struggle like that. And the J50, which is of course extremely powerful. I don't think I've ever seen her slow down. So here are my rankings then for the Bachmann J72 from the CADA 60th anniversary set. Now you could make a case for this loco going into the vintage rankings since it was designed so long ago. However, since it was made recently and sold in modern packaging for a modern price, I thought I would do the same and include this in the modern rankings. So here we go then, detail 3 out of 5. Yeah, the detail's not too bad. Yeah, not terrible, not great though, no cab detail, no sprung buffers. It's all plastic, so yeah, it's okay, middle of the road I've put it. Power, actually, it's got a lot of weight to it, but the motor seems to be quite underpowered. Underload on Gordon's Hill, it slowed down quite a bit, as you could see, which is not really acceptable for a modern loco. So 3 out of 5 there. Again, middle of the road, not great, but not terrible. Slow speed, I think, is this model's one saving grace. As you saw, it was very, very good. So 5 out of 5 there. Can't really fault that. Quality though, 3 out of 5. As you know, I'm not a big fan of the split chassis mechanism. I think inherently that is quite a poor quality mechanism, and that's probably why Bachmann don't produce that anymore normally, but for some reason they decided to produce this, or at least they did 10 years ago. So not too impressed with that. I've given it a 3 out of 5. And value, it's very hard to say with the value. I don't have any idea of the RRP of this set because it was so long ago since it was released. Well, 10 years, it's not that long. But anyway, I paid £100 for this, so I'm going to split it 60-40. I think £60 is going to go towards the standard class 4 and £40 can go towards the J72, and I think £40 for an old split chassis model is quite expensive. It's not terrible, but it's not brilliant, so I've given it 3 out of 5 there, once again middle of the road. Overall then, that is 6.64 out of 10, not a terrible score. Into the ranking she goes then, 32nd, just above the Bachmann Oliver and below the Humvee Railway Children. Now I think if this had have gone into the vintage ranking as a vintage loco, it would have done quite a lot better than that. However, I think it's just the context in which this model was sold that's rubbed me up the wrong way. And for that, I think that is a fair fate for this model. So let me know in the comments what you think then. It's quite a difficult one to decide on, isn't it? Because obviously visually she is very lovely, but there are issues with this. But let me know what you think. Are the issues enough to put you off, or is this something you'd be looking to buy? I suppose you've got a fair point, whichever perspective you take on there. I don't think I would buy it again though. If I'm going to give my personal opinion, I think if I'd have known, well, for £100 I might have, but if it was any more, I think I would be seriously considering almost anything else. It's also not great running that J50 next to her because the J50 kind of outshines it massively. But no, well, that's not a problem. You can't ever complain about lovely locos, can you? Super duper. Alright folks, well I think that will just about do it for part 1 of my Bachmann CADA, whatever you want to call it, 60th anniversary train pack. Come back and join me next time if you'd like to see the second half, where I will be reviewing the Standard Class 4, which I think, well, I know is a much better model. But for now, thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed that. Of course, don't forget to let me know what you thought about it in the comments. And finally, I better show the Wall of Fame a bit more, I've decided, because I don't show it too much. So here's a little shot, hopefully you can see yourself on there. If you're not on there and you'd like to be, please send me your photos or drawings or whatever, as long as you've taken them yourself, to samstrains@outlook.com, and I will print those out and put them up for you. But for now, folks, thank you once again for watching, and I will see you very, very soon. Alright, cheers everybody.